Turn heads and bring the hype with a custom hype chain from Lotwin. Perfect for youth sports, fantasy football, or just flexing your pride. Go to Lotwin.com, use the promo code TCCPOD for 10% off your order. That's Lotwin.com, promo code TCCPOD for 10% off. Get your custom hype chain and get hype with Lotwin. What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for February 5th, 2026. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Thursday edition of the podcast. A lot went down yesterday, so let's get into it. We'll start with the Eagles, and Jeff Stoutland University is officially closed. Released a statement yesterday, both he and the team, that he is stepping away from the organization after being here since 2013. Lots of rumors and speculation and everything, but it appears that, one, he was upset about the way he was not consulted last year with certain things, and also, I guess, the direction the team is going. I'm not making a big deal out of this the way other people are. You have a new offensive coordinator. You kind of see the shift going on in the building with bringing in these young, quote-unquote, hot shots or gurus or wonder kids, whatever you want to call them. And listen, if you're going to do it, you might as well let them do it all on their own and bring in their own people. So I guess part of it was the run game coordinator losing that title. I don't know. I don't want to speculate because I'm hearing a lot of people come down hard on Nick Sirianni. But at the end of the day, he is the head coach of the team. So you got to kind of defer to him. And again, I said it before that if that was one of the sticking points of hiring an offensive coordinator, you got to let the offensive coordinator bring in his own people. And it appears Sean Mannion is going to do that. Look, and I'm also not diminishing what Jeff Stoutland meant for this team. The fact that the guy was here over multiple head coaches is pretty impressive. Hard to believe that he came in with Chip Kelly. So to have that kind of longevity and success that he did, yes, last year was not a good season whatsoever. But at the end of the day, I think they're making a change, and they're kind of shifting their mindset and going all in with these young coaches. And you got to do what you got to do. I mean, it's not like Stoutland is like coming off a great season. Now, it's part of that because he was trying to get some things done and they weren't listening to him. I don't know. You're going to hear tons of speculation. I'm not going to get into the speculation game, but Coach Stoutland, thank you for your years here and for helping us win 2 Super Bowls, and wish you the best. And it is a risky move for the Eagles, no doubt, to kind of put all their eggs in that basket, but I think it's a necessary move for them to do. It does appear that Vic Fangio will be coming back. There was a report out yesterday that he'll be back. Now, that is good for consistency on the defense, but I do think you need to start looking at a contingency plan for next year already, whether it's somebody in the building, whether you bring someone in to sort of shadow and kind of work with Vic. But I guess that's the good news. It does appear that Scott Loeffler is also out as quarterback coach. They're looking at Greg Olsen, not the announcer Greg Olsen. So, again, that's another move I like. You got a veteran coming in to help these young guys. He has experience in both college and the pros. I think he has like 25, 30 years experience. So, if they're able to get him in, that's a good pick. But lots of movement here with the Eagles as we approach the Super Bowl. Quick programming note. The Brotherly Birds Breakdown is recorded and ready to go. Riverside, and I don't even know if this is going to be able to come out. Riverside is having some tech issues, so I was unable to complete the editing process last night. So as soon as I'm able to do that and Riverside gets its stuff together, we'll be back. But that is ready to go. So stay tuned for that. Best way is to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont, and you'll get updates delivered right to your notifications. Sixers made a move yesterday as the trade deadline approaches 3 p.m. today. Jared McCain, who struggled to find his playing time and role coming off the injury into the rotation, was traded to the Thunder for a first-round pick this coming draft, which is the Rockets, which will be a lower or higher, I guess, first-round pick, and 3 second-round picks. Gets them under the luxury tax threshold. But to me, they weren't that far over anyway. So for me, I think this is a precursor to a larger move coming today. What that move is, I have no idea. But just kind of my gut feeling, the way Daryl Morey operates, I don't think they're done yet. So having all of those picks certainly gives them some flexibility. On the court, they are in action tonight out in LA versus the Lakers. Will not be awake for that game. But Sixers-Lakers tonight. Jared McCain heading to Oklahoma City to likely be a bench player, guy off the bench for the Thunder. But I personally think there's more moves coming for the Sixers today. So I will be feverishly refreshing my Twitter feed. Flyers are also in action tonight down at the X versus the Senators. This is their last game before the All-Star break, looking to build on the momentum from the other night and head into the All-Star break with some good vibes. Or I shouldn't say All-Star, Olympic break. All right, I mentioned the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Follow me on all social media platforms at Philly Jimbo. Continue to spread the word as we grow this thing. And like I said, the Brother of the Birds breakdown will be out, hopefully, at some point today. Good talk about the offensive coordinator search, Vic Fangio. We talked a little bit about Stoutland. Actually, we talked a lot about Stoutland. We took a look back at the 2017 Eagles, the Super Bowl champion team, gave some picks out for this year's Super Bowl, and had a good time just talking all things Eagles. So that will be out eventually, so stay tuned for that. And then yesterday's trivia question. Flyers, number 7 all-time in NHL history in franchise wins. I asked you who are the 6 above them. Well, that would be the original 6 teams. The Canadiens, Maple Leafs, Bruins, Rangers, Red Wings, and Blackhawks. I mean, they had almost a 30-some year head start on the Flyers. So the fact the Flyers are up there is pretty impressive. All right, Olympics kick off this week. We're continuing our Olympic spotlight. These are athletes that have local ties. And today, we're going to go with Matthew Greiner. He was born in Abington, lived in Ambler until he was 6, right around the corner from me, before his family moved out to Utah. And that's where he took up the luge. Fell in love with it almost immediately. His grandmother still lives in South Philly, so Matthew is a Philly sports fan, spent time at the Philadelphia Zoo and down the shore with his family as a kid, and certainly this area has helped shape him. But on the ice, I guess it would be the snow. I'm pretty sure they sled down ice, but on the ice, pretty damn good luger as well. He's the 2024 Juniors silver medalist. He also won the bronze in 2022, and you can catch Matthew on the ice, on the snow, whatever you want to call it, on the sled, track. That's what I was trying to say, sled and track together. February 7th and February 8th at 11 and 12:30. So this weekend, you can catch Matthew Greiner, born in Abington, lived in Ambler until he was 6, still has strong Philly roots, and we are looking forward to having Matthew bring home a medal for us here in Montgomery County. So Matthew Greiner is today's Olympic spotlight of local athletes participating in the 2026 games.
Hey guys, guess what time it is? It's cookie season. I'm Ella here, your favorite Girl Scout, and we have your oldies but goodies. Lemonades, dimmits, peanut butter sandwiches, and more. This year we have a new cookie flavor called the Explore Mug. My goal is 200 boxes, so please make that happen. You're gonna buy cookies anyway, so why not buy them from me?
All right, February 5th. First, we're going to go back to 1972. Flyers were in Toronto. Barry Ashby, Bob Kelly, and Ross Lonsberry each scored goals. Goalie Bruce Gamble had 44 saves as the Flyers win 3-1, snapping a franchise worst 19-game road winless streak. Not a good road team in those early days, but Flyers snapped that 19-game winless streak on the road on this day in 1972. And then 4 years later, more Flyers. It was the Flyers beating the Canucks down at the Spectrum 6-1. Bobby Clarke with a goal and 2 assists. Ross Lonsberry with 2 goals. Gary Dornhoefer and Jimmy Watson both had 2 assists. As Bobby Clarke, we've been talking a lot about him the past week or so, scored his 200th career goal, becoming the first Flyer to reach the 200th goal. We talked about his 100th goal as well as his 250th goal. So lots of milestones this week for Bobby Clarke. And then going all the way up to 1985, we're going to still stick with the Flyers. Flyers lose to the Islanders 7-5, but Ilka Sinisalo with a hat trick and an assist, but it was not enough in an offensive explosion by both teams up on Long Island. Flyers losing to the Islanders 7-5, but we all know they would make a magical run to the Stanley Cup Finals that year in 1985. And then in 2001, an unexpected snowstorm spelled trouble for the Sixers. This was an interesting one. I read about this in the old edition of the Philadelphia Daily News. Players had trouble getting to the game. There was a story about Aaron McKee was supposed to pick up Allen Iverson. Traffic was just backed up. Everybody knew it was going to snow, but it came down much faster and much harder than what everybody thought. So he was driving down the blue route the wrong way, trying to get to AI's house. The NBA granted the Sixers an extension on this game, postponing the 7 p.m. tip-off to 8:10, because at 7 o'clock, they only had 7 players in the building and only 1 guard, which happened to be Pepe Sanchez. So kudos on the NBA for doing that. For the Sixers, though, Aaron McKee and Allen Iverson did get there in time, barely. Aaron McKee got onto the court at 7:56. Allen Iverson at 7:58. They got it together, though. Used a strong start, 31-point first quarter to beat Toronto 99-80. I'm sorry, they beat the Nuggets 99. Can't read my own writing. Struggling today. But used a 31-point first quarter to beat the Nuggets 99-80. AI had 37 points. Aaron McKee, to his credit, almost messing around and had a triple-double, 11 points, 8 rebounds, 10 assists. Not bad for 2 guys who almost missed the game and were traveling the wrong way down the blue route due to an unexpected snowstorm. But good win for the Sixers during that magical run, 99-80 over the Nuggets, as 7 players were there for the original start time. So we'll see that. But that does lead us into today's trivia question. Everybody knows that was AI's MVP year. Who was the second leading scorer for the Sixers that year in 2000-2001? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. Get that. Anything else Philly sports related off your chest, head over to the Discord channel. The link is in the description. Let's have some fun Philly sports talk today. Lots to talk about as we approach the trade deadline in the NBA, as well as seems like the carousel of coaches for the Eagles. But come over, let me know your thoughts on all of that. And then finally, in 2000, Temple, yes, the Temple Owls, we talked about John Chaney yesterday, put on a defensive clinic up in Rhode Island, beating the Rams 74-40. They allowed 2 field goals in the first half. led it 36-9 at halftime. Lynn Greer threw in 18, Mark Karcher with 15, Quincy Wadley with 15, as the Owls looked to make that magical run. One of my all-time favorite Philly sports teams, that 99-2000 Temple Owls team. Of course, they got the 2 seed, and Ty effing Shine rained on our parade. Literally raining threes that game. But Temple put on that clinic, 74-40 over Rhode Island on this day in 2000. All right, it is Thursday. That means it's time for a little Throwback Thursday, brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com for your Philly sports-based apparel. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. All one word, but Philly Goat has you covered. And it is Super Bowl week. We talked about the Super Bowl 52 team, but I think one of the more underrated Super Bowl teams, the Eagles had 5 of them, 2 of them won, was that 2004 Eagles team, the one that finally got over the hump, winning the NFC Championship game, and then moving on to the Super Bowl. But I think a lot is lost. And of course, you hear a lot about that team because Ike Reese and Hugh Douglas were members of that team. But I think that team, because we finally won one, and the magic of Nick Foles and the domination of last year, we forget how good that team was. And just hearing a lot of the players talk about that this week, they were a dominant offensive team. And the fact that, thinking back and kind of remembering that, we left a lot of games early that year because the starters were benched. The starters didn't play a lot of full games, specifically on offense, because they were just that dominant. T.O., of course, was a great addition, had 1,200 yards and 14 touchdowns in 12 games, or 14 games before that ridiculous injury, thanks to Roy Williams. And then the fact that he was able to put it together, but everybody thinks, oh, it was T.O. T.O. made the difference. They had a strong running game, obviously a strong offensive line. Brian Westbrook had over 1,500 total yards, kind of his breakout emergent year. L.J. Smith was solid. Even Todd Pinkston wasn't too shabby for the Eagles that year. He had 3 touchdowns, 500 yards. Even Freddie Mitchell, who would like to thank his hands for being so great, played well. But I think the strength of this team, despite the dominance they had on offense, I think it really helped and opened up the defense. That defense was absolutely nasty. I think if you really look at that season as a whole, they had one bad game, and that was the one out in Pittsburgh, and really the only regular season game they lost that they actually tried in, because the starters were benched for the final 3 games, basically, of that season. Jeremiah Trotter came back and certainly made a huge difference in that team. Heard a story with him the other day on the radio. Brought him back. He was special teams, and he was pissed off about it. He thought he was being punished by Andy Reid for leaving in the first place, which he may have been. You never know. We all talked about it back then. But he said in practice, when he was running with the second team, he would make it a point to go out of his way to really hit those guys hard. And he was like, listen, I'm going to make them put me back in the starting lineup. Obviously, after the Pittsburgh game, Andy and Jim Johnson did put him in there, and it made the differences. The team was just so dominant and lost, I think, in the fact that they lost in the Super Bowl to the Patriots. Obviously, they lost by 3 points, but I completely forgot about this. I knew Donovan had the 3 interceptions, but they lost 2 fumbles in that game too. So they turned the ball over 5 times, which was very uncharacteristic for that team. And I think you take away 1 or even 2 of them, that game is different, and we're looking at this team in a whole different light. I think because of the way it ended, because of the controversy with McNabb and T.O. the following year, we kind of look on that and just like, well, the Patriots were the Patriots. But the Eagles should have won that game. Absolutely should have won that game. But I wanted to give a quick shout out to one of my favorite teams. Obviously, the Super Bowl 52 team will always be special. Last year's team obviously will always be special. But that 2004 team, it was right when we first got season tickets at the 2001. So we lived through all of the heartbreaks and the NFC Championship losses, and that team certainly was a lot of fun. The Link was a fun place to be that season, specifically with T.O., but don't want to sleep on the defense. They brought in Javon Curse. Brian Dawkins was playing at a high level. Grease was a Pro Bowl special teams player. Trot came back. You had Hugh at the end of his career. Corey Simon was on that team, I believe. I don't know. Actually, Corey Simon may not have been on that team. But either way, lots of just... They had the young guys, Lito Shepard, Sheldon Brown. It just was a great, great fun team. So 2004 Eagles are today's throwback. And I didn't even have any notes for this one. I just kind of riffed because that was a special team. And to finally get over that hump, as much as we were feeling ecstatic when the Eagles won Super Bowl 52, the fact that when the feeling to have that when they finally got to the Super Bowl, something as Eagles fans growing up never thought you would see, was amazing. So that is Throwback Thursday, brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com, use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. And then finally, our Black History Month Spotlight, Forged in Philly edition, Earl the Pearl Monroe. And Earl was, his style, his game was forged on the South Philly playground. His Bartram High School teammates nicknamed him Thomas Edison for his ability to invent different ways and new ways to score on the court. This was an interesting story. I really like this. Because of the moves, though, he often got a lot of grief on the playgrounds because people say, oh, you're junk, you're this, you're not very good. That's why you're throwing up these ridiculous shots. His mom told him to write all of the people who ripped him for his style of play into a notebook. And as he got better and was better than them, to cross them off. The vision that comes into my head is the scene in Billy Madison when Steve Buscemi is crossing off names. I can just picture Earl the Pearl walking around with this notebook, writing down names and then crossing them off. Obviously, he did become better than almost all of them. Went to Winston-Salem State where he won a championship. He was the number 2 pick in the 1967 draft. Won an NBA title with the New York Knicks, unfortunately. But he was a 4-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year. He's on the NBA's 50th and 75th anniversary teams. His number is retired by both Washington and the Knicks. He's a Naismith and College Hall of Famer. And truthfully, he's best known for revolutionizing the game. He certainly is forged by Philly. His creativity led to his toughness and became one of the best to ever do it. It's Philly basketball in motion, and he laid the groundwork for guys like Doc and the way you see guys play today. If it wasn't for Earl the Pearl, we wouldn't see it, and he was all forged in Philly, specifically on those South Philly playgrounds. So Earl the Pearl Monroe is today's Forged in Philly Black History Month Spotlight. Back in 2000, Temple laid the smackdown on Rhode Island, beating them 74-40, allowing 2 field goals and 9 points in the first half. Snowstorm almost caused half the Sixers team to miss the game, but they got there and beat the Nuggets 99-80. Allen Iverson and Aaron McKie showed up just a couple minutes before tip-off, and both of them had pretty decent games. Ilka Sinisalo had a hat trick on this day in 1985, but it wasn't enough as the Flyers lose to the Islanders. Bobby Clark scores goal number 200 with the Flyers on this day in 76. And the Flyers also snapped the 19-game road winless streak on this day in 1972. Don't forget to hit up the Back to the Future voice and text line. Lots to talk about today. Would love to get your take on Jeff Stoutland. Am I underselling it? Obviously, he's going to be hard to replace. But it's a new scheme, and it might be easier to just bring in a new guy. You still have some of the talent. Definitely is going to be missed. I wonder, too, if that's going to impact Lane Johnson's decision to retire. He never had any other offensive line coach in his time here in Philly, so we'll see how that plays out as well. We'll have more tomorrow on the Sixers trade deadline moves, as well as recap that Sixers-Lakers game and the Flyers-Senators. Hopefully, things kind of die down for the Eagles as we head into the off season. We'll also spend tomorrow with AI. It's a very special Super Bowl edition, so stay tuned for that. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for February 5th, 2026. My name's Jim Montgomery. I'm hoping you see this. Riverside, please get your act together. Go have yourselves a Thursday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.